Good morning, everyone. Yes, as Missy so kindly introduced, I'm Janice Baylor, and I'm welcoming you back into my studio today to do another fun luau session for drop-in art. So if you have maybe some fun summer parties planned, maybe you're going to do something outdoor with some friends, you can make our fun, huge, impactful hibiscus lovely headdress today. Or if you're not really a flower person, I'll show you how to do a nice big tropical leaf. We are going to make a beautiful pineapple luminary. So with the help of your adult, you could stick a little candle in there later on. And those are really pretty. And we are also going to make some fun little tiki statue, guys, out of toilet paper rolls. So you should have all of your supply kits, or if you need to gather things up, all of that's in the directions. And I'm going to go ahead and switch you over to my above head camera maybe. And hold on one second. Timed out on me. Oh, Missy, I think you have to let me
Okay.
back on there.
Here we go. Let's try this.
Super. All right, so here is all of our nice project space. If you have something that you can put down on your table, we're going to do a little bit of getting messy. So you might want to protect your surface if you have a sheet of newspaper, or I have just like some craft paper here, something like that. Or if you're working somewhere that you can easily wipe it down, like maybe a countertop, that would be a good idea. So to get started, we're going to start with our pineapple luminary. So what we are going to do is take the little pieces of tissue that we have if in the kit, or if you're building your own kit, you'll need a few pieces of cut up yellow tissue paper and a few pieces of green as well. You'll need to have a sponge brush. There is fun foam, or if you are doing this at home from your own kit, maybe felt would work as well, or just green paper. You have glue dots. I unfortunately did not have glue dots. I have double-sided sticky tape that also works, and either Mod Podge, or you can just use also Elmer's school glue. Our similar product works the same. So to get started, we'll want to open up our jar and separate the lid from the jar. And we are just going to lightly spread around and make it very sticky. So maybe have a little cloth nearby that you can wipe your hands on, but go ahead and just put a thin layer of the Mod Podge or glue around the outside edge of your lid. And we really only need to cover the outside. If you have any writing or anything on the lid, because once we get to the interior, we're going to create the little top to our pineapple. So we don't need to really have that covered. And also I found when I was making mine that the glue dots and sticky tape stuck better to just the plain lid than they did to the tissue paper. So that's just something to keep in mind. Or you could just leave it like this if you like the look of the tissue sticking up. That's kind of like your personal preference. So in Hawaii, pineapples are one of their biggest exports, kind of like in Pennsylvania, we have mushrooms. Well, they do pineapples. And they're also a symbol of welcoming. So it's great if you are going to maybe have a pool party or something to put out your little pineapple luminary and welcome everybody to your home. So they can also be a symbol of welcoming. So we'll set that aside and let that dry. And now we'll work on the main body of our pineapple. So it's basically the same thing. We're going to go ahead and take our glue and just put a nice little layer, a thin layer. You don't need a ton because tissue paper is pretty thin, so it will stick really easily. And then after you coat like a small area, and you don't need to do the rim because we can put the lid back on. And of course you don't want to do the bottom because it will stick to things when you set it down. So just along the sides, and we will stick our tissue on top. And I like to try to alternate the light and the dark just to give it a little bit more interest, but it's your project, so you can do it however you like. And just kind of tap it down with your fingers. This is why we might need to wipe our hands off afterwards. And just fill it up with the tissue paper, just lightly adding a nice coat. Doesn't take a lot. And then sticking them in place. I find this to be kind of relaxing. And if you want more interest, you can layer them a little bit more if you like. And then where the light and dark overlap, that will also create different layers so that when you're looking through your project, you have a different kind of glimmer that will come from it. And just work your way around. I hope everyone's having a really nice summer, getting some beautiful weather today, not so hot. Get ready, I hear it's coming for the weekend though. And if you come to a spot where it doesn't quite line up, that's fine because we are overlapping it anyway. Maybe turn your piece the other direction and go ahead and fill that in. Also, if you have scissors handy, you can cut the pieces to the size that you want as well. And just fill it all up. And then we can take our brush and smooth down anything that didn't quite get caught in the glue. So maybe just putting a really light brush coat, not re-dipping into the glue or Mod Podge, just kind of using what's on the brush and very lightly putting it across the tissue to smoothen down any edges. And if you don't have Mod Podge at home and you like to make projects, I highly recommend checking it out because it is really fun to play with and you can do all kinds of things. And then that will seal it up and we'll set that aside for a little while and we will work on making our leaves. So we'll set aside our things here to dry, put the lid back on your glue or Mod Podge or whatever you used so it doesn't dry out. Maybe your adult helper would be willing to go clean your brush out. And then to get started on making our pointy leaves, we want to do just a nice wide kind of flattened off teardrop shape. So maybe it comes to a point up here at the top and then goes out around wide. Can you see that good? And I want to leave a flat bottom here so that we can make it stand up. So see how these leaves, pop it off. See how the leaves are kind of crimped so that they can stand up. So we'll make the base by taking our flat bottom and putting a snip in it, just about like a 1/2 inch or so. We don't want to cut the whole way through, but now this allows us to fold them over one another. See how I folded it together and overlapped them there? And that makes the leaf be able to stand up. So take your glue dots, or if you have double-sided tape, like I do, and put a piece on one end of your little notched end and peel off the backing. And then fold it on top of the other side and then push it together. And then that will create our little leaves that kind of can stand up for us. So when we glue them down, they'll be able to stand on top of our lid and stand up. So I'll show you again, just in case you need to review that. And really your leaves can be as big as you want. You can make some that are taller and some that are shorter. Add a little variety and interest. So again, cut that like flattened off teardrop shape or flattened off petal. Cut a nice little notch in the end And then we're going to fold it over. So taking that one piece and tucking it underneath the other one and then sticking them together. So get your glue dot or your tape, put it on the end there on the notch, and then fold the notches together and pinch them so that the glue sticks. And maybe I'll do a light green one. And I think I needed about 4 to 5. So it's going to depend a little bit on the look that you're going for and how fat you make your leaves at the base. So it's just kind of an experiment to see what you want to have. But I like doing a little variety in the color too. So again, we're just going to notch it, fold them over, stick them together. Hold it up so you can see a little bit better. Stick it down. Peel off your backing, which is easier said than done. It's very sticky. And then fold over on top of each other and press. And now we have a nice assortment of little leaves. And if you're going to leave, like I kind of like the way that my tissue looks there, maybe we could even make that look a little bit like leaves by cutting it up a little bit too. Now it's like kind of giving that small leaf effect. So I'm just kind of cutting it into like rounded triangles. I didn't do that on my first one, but see, that's what I like about art, because you can really experiment with it. And each time you might have a new idea. And I think that's what's fun when you're working with like materials like this too. It's not so intimidating, like you're not going to mess this up. And having just a jar to play with is a really fun way to experiment and be creative. So now I have like little tiny leaves. And then I can stick my large leaves in between those and get a really neat effect. So these are the baby leaves that are just coming out. And then I have the teenager leaves and the adult leaves, right? So sweep that away. And then you will use your glue dots again, or I have, of course, sticky tape, and put that on your flat bottom. And then we're going to peel that off and just press it onto the lid. So there's that one. We'll add this guy in the same way. So just adding the glue adhesive to the bottom and pressing it onto the lid. And last one. Let's hope it fits. Yeah, got a little fat with my leaves, but that's okay, because you can just adjust things if you need to. Again, it's kind of like experimenting and playing around and just having fun. There we have it. That is so cute. So there's my little pineapple top. And here's how it compares to my other one, which I did like taller leaves. So they kind of flop over a little bit more. So maybe if you want them to stick up a little bit, maybe consider making them kind of shorter so you can see there the difference, that my taller leaves are kind of spilling out a little bit more than my shorter ones. Okay, so we'll set that aside and allow it to dry the rest of the way. And then we can come back and add a little bit of detail with a marker. I just made like little V's all over the tissue paper on the base of the pineapple whenever it dried. So you can add that, or you can just leave it plain and then it would just be yellow like this. So it's whatever you would like to do to finish that. And then you can see whenever you put the lid on, how cute that is. Little welcome pineapple. And that would be a really fun thing to make as a party favor too, if you're having a luau party. Then you could put like some little candies or something in that maybe. Okay, so let's take a second and tidy up our workspace, and then we can move on to some of our other projects. I make a big mess. So I'll set that stuff aside. And then we can go on and we'll make the fun hibiscus headpiece. So you can see here that we have created just from some white paper plates a beautiful hibiscus headpiece. And I have cut them into petal shapes, and then we're going to color them kind of abstractly with markers. And we're going to use the little dot stickers that were included, or if you have other dots, or you could hole punch things out of a piece of paper if you have a hole punch to create the same effect. And it's all just paper plates. And then we're going to tape it onto a headband, or if you have a clip or something that you could either glue or tape it to, that would work as well. Or if you don't have any of those things, you know, you can use a piece of construction paper just to make a headband by cutting it into strips and then stapling that together. So to get started with our headpiece, I'm going to put it back on because I really like it. It's really adding to my vibe today. So if you want to, you can just freehand cut these out, or you can use a pencil and sketch yourself a flower. So you just need to do, like, we're going to do multiple layers. So you'll want to start with a smaller flower. So maybe just see how there's like the interior circle, the very flat part. Go ahead and just draw a flower shape with multiple petals. It doesn't have to be particularly even. It doesn't have to be anything stressful. You could make it 5 petals. You could make it 6 petals, whatever you want to do. And then we'll go ahead and cut that out. See, I like to just freehand it because I can't seem to cut on the lines. But that's okay. I can erase them, or they'll just get covered up, or they can be on the underside. So just cut out those leaves or those petals. And then I actually used, if you can see here on my example, I used some of the leftover pieces from the edge of the paper plate to make sort of a trumpet shape so that I could have a 3D stamen in the middle of mine as well. So you could do that. And like I said, it's just kind of a trumpet shape. So it kind of comes to a point at the end and then flares out at the top. And I just used leftovers for that. So that's an option, or you can skip that step. That's up to you. And so now for the next flower, we need to go a little bit bigger so that, again, it has that layered effect. So we have the smaller inner one, and then we have some larger ones on the outside. So I actually, to speed up the process, I actually kept 2 plates together, and then I just cut them out together. And then when I put my headdress together, I just offset them from one another, and I'll show you that next. So if you are able to cut through 2 paper plates at once, you can go a little faster with it. Or if you'd prefer to have them be a little bit different, you can split them up, or if it's a little hard for you to cut through 2 layers of paper plate, it might be a good idea to cut it up or to split them up and before you're cutting them. So I'm just going in and out and making a petal shape and leaving everything attached in the middle so we have a nice base to work with. So there is our flower shape, and see, then when you offset it, you have the bigger outside layers to work with, and then we'll have the small inside layer. Okay, so there is the base of our hibiscus. And then if you'd like to make a leaf, maybe you want to have the big dramatic leaf down the side like I have here, or maybe you're just not a flower person. That's cool. Then to make a leaf, I just started at one end and kind of brought it to a point and then made like swirl in. And then I come out from that here. And then I start up and just kind of create notches in the plate till I get to the end. And you don't need to cut this last one because this will be the bottom of our leaf, the big flat base of the leaf. So again, it's just coming up here and creating kind of like a little cut in. So you can see when I cut that out, that it'll have that nice notched effect. So cutting it out, just notching the plate, just cutting kind of like swoopy triangles out of each side. And you get that pretty tropical leaf shape. And then when we color it green, it kind of looks like an angel right now. But when we color it green, it'll look more like a tropical leaf. Or you could, you could do this again for Christmas and have an angel. I'm just going to erase my pencil quickly. And that might be a good idea too. If, like me, you're not so good at staying on the lines. So we'll just take a second and touch that up. Give you a few more seconds to cut your shapes out. And then we are going to do the really fun part, which is scribble tons of color on these guys. So grab your markers, and I chose a really pretty kind of like tropical sunset theme to go with our Hawaiian luau. I hear they have beautiful sunsets in Hawaii. I'd love to get out there and see that someday in real life. May I be so lucky. So here we'll take our inner petal, our inner flower, and on my example, I did purple and red. Okay, and then on my next layer for my next petals, I did red and pink. And then on my outer layers, I did orange and yellow. And then that had made a nice contrast since purple and yellow are opposite each other. On the color wheel, it makes a really nice contrast and makes the center of your flower really pop out. So maybe think about that. You can do any colors that you like. That's totally up to you. And I just have basic water soluble, like washable markers. It doesn't take anything special to do this project. I just have a variety of things here. And I don't need that one. Let's see. I have oranges and pinks. So I think I'm going to go for the same color again, kind of same color scheme so you can see what I did. And it's really this simple, I swear. Just scribble blocks of color. And when you fold it all up, it gives this really beautiful blended effect. And I also got mine to blend even further by setting it aside on a piece of old cardboard, like an old packing box, and I spritzed it with some water from a spray bottle and then left it to dry, and it helped really blend those colors together. So that's something, if you're doing this at home, you probably have a little bit more time today to do that and then to pick it up later and put it all together. But for today, to show you, I don't have that much time for everything to dry. So I'm just going to show you what it looks like if you just apply the abstract color. And I think it will look really pretty like that too. Or if you don't have a spray bottle, or you don't have time for things to dry, or you don't want to get that messy, that's always an option too. So we'll do our purple layer, and then I'm going to mix in the red, kind of blend that in. And I'm doing both the front and the back because we're going to curl the petals up. So give it a nice coating of color. And this is my favorite kind of project, right? Where you don't have to think that hard, you can just have fun with it. Squint your eyes and imagine what a sunset would be like. if you were in Hawaii. We're just going to fill it in. And again, if you really want that blended color, you could pick colors that are closer to each other, and you'll see that on my next one here. So I'm going to do the red. And I'm not going all the way to the end, and I'm not worrying about filling up every inch with the color, especially if you're going to squirt it with the water. That'll give it a little chance to blend together in certain areas. But you could color it completely in too if you wanted to. And on the back, you don't need to color in the center because we're going to stick them together. So just worry about the petals. And that's also why we cut them out first, because we don't need to color stuff that we're not going to use, that we're just going to cut away. Okay, so now that we have that, and then I'm going to use my orange. Ooh, I'm liking this. That would be a really fierce sunset. So just filling in with my orange. It's making me want an ice pop. So fiery and hot looking. So there's the back, and then we'll flip it over, and then we do want to color in most of the front, even though there'll be something in the center that we're going to layer this one in the center. You might see it when we curl things up, but you won't see the back as much, so you don't need to focus on that as much. I think this is a really fun activity you could do if you were having a little luau party. You could have a little station set up for your party guests, and you could all sit down and make beautiful headpieces together to wear at the party. And then we'll do our last one, our last layer. Let's do orange and yellow to kind of continue our sunset. And we get a nice layer of color going. Flip it over, do the back. Scribbling is really fun. Don't you agree? It's kind of having fun with it. And let me get out a yellow and fill that in. And I think it's nice, like too, if you have colors that are, one is a little bit darker and a little bit lighter, it really adds a lot of visual interest to your leaf. And I noticed too that my yellow is kind of blending a little bit on its own. But if you did want really that blended effect, again, you're going to have to spray it with a little bit of water and then leave it time to dry. So I do highly recommend that if you have that as an option, because it will make it look a lot more swirled together. But just for the sake of time today, since I only have an hour to be with you, we're just going to go ahead and do it like this. But I still think this could be fun. So like if you are having that party and you don't want to wait for everything to dry, this is still really fun and achievable for a lot of skill levels. Okay, So there's that one. And now, of course, oh, my arm's getting a little tired. Are you getting a little tired? I'm gonna shake it out. Oh my God. Oh no, I should do this. I should do luau hands. Make little waves. Okay, and so now I'm gonna go ahead and do my leaf, and I'm gonna use yellow and green on my leaf. I'm just coloring a big swatch of color. And flipping it over. Well, now my angel's starting to look a little less angel, a little bit more palm leaf. Alrighty, let's see, where's my green? Here it is. So now we'll add some nice green to it. Really pretty. Some dark green. Kind of feel like I might want to come back in with light green too. It's just whatever you like, whatever is appealing to you. You don't have to make a green leaf. You could make a blue leaf or just yellow leaf, brown leaf. Maybe your leaf died. I don't know. Maybe you just like brown. You can do whatever you want. Same with your flower. Whatever colors you like, you do not have to do sunset colors. It's your project. If you really love purple, you could do the whole thing purple. If you really like blue, you could have a blue, beautiful blue flower. So I think that's the great thing when you're creating for yourself. You can do what appeals to you, what you like, what expresses yourself in your artwork. And I think I'm going to take like a lime green yet and add a little bit of lime green color too to my leaf. And again, if you want the blendy look like I have in my example, you will want to spray them with water and let the watercolor or let the washable element of your marker kind of work with itself to blend the colors together, because it will allow the ink that's in the marker to flow and it will blend, it will kind of like flow into each other and give a little bit more smooth lines. Like this is a little bit harsh lines because it's just stopping where the marker stops. But if you spray it, then it allows things to blend together. So if your adult helper today has a spray bottle that they could get for you, that might be cool. And you'll want to just stop when we're done coloring and go spray it and leave it time to dry, because you won't be able to stick it together wet and you won't be able to tape it to your headpiece wet. So you'll have to have a little patience. But if you have time to do that, it might be worthwhile to practice your patience. But I'm going to show you how to finish it up today. And then if you need to, you can come back and watch the replay to put it together, or you can print out the directions that we have linked on the website and you can assemble it after it's dry later on this afternoon or another day. Okay, so now we have everything colored. Again, I would spray, 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 put them on a tray or outside in the grass, or I used a cardboard box that I just can set them inside and then spray so I didn't create a big mess all over the place like that. That's why we needed to protect our table, because we're messy, but messes are fun. Okay, so then now that we have all of our beautifully colored pieces and they're all dry, if you sprayed them, what we're going to do to get the texture is just use our marker again and roll the leaves up from the edge toward the center and press them around our marker. And you can see how it makes it curl up. So that allows our petals to look a little bit more realistic and have that 3D effect that makes our headpiece really interesting. So just roll them all around. You can roll some a little tighter than others. so that they're not all the same, because no petal on a flower is exactly the same as the other petal next to it. They're all individual. And that's kind of what makes them pretty, is all of the different layers of texture and interest. So we're going to do that to all of our petals. And you can see how it starts to make it look so much more dimensional and fun. And then I even recommend doing it to the leaf. Like if you made a leaf, kind of curl your point maybe a little bit around. And that also gives your leaf a little bit of dimension and texture. Maybe fold it over. Kind of use your hand to create a little bit of dimension to the otherwise flat paper plate. And now we have a really beautiful leaf with lots of dimension. You can fold those a lot of different ways. Maybe crimp it so that it bends in. Nice. You can see how shaped we got that. Really pretty. Okay, now, again, once everything's dry and you're good to go, you can either use your glue dots, or if you have double-sided sticky tape or a glue stick, any of that stuff will work. And you really just need to attach them together in the center. So I'm just going to go ahead and use double-sided tape because that's what I have handy. And then I'm going to take my large petal, my darker outside, whatever color you want to use for that layer. One of your larger petals should go on the outside. And then I'm going to offset my other large petal so that you can see each of the petals. Okay, so that they're not really overlapping each other too much and covering it up. And it's okay if you get one or two that do, that's fine. Maybe you can curl that one up a little bit more so that you can see there. So you can see what's behind it, and you can kind of play with that a little bit to add a different, like, additional dimension. And then once you have that layer situated the way you like it, you can add your interior layers of petals. And if you want to do more than 3 layers, you can definitely go wild with it. I would keep in mind it's going to be on your head. So at some point it's going to get heavy if you add a ton of layers, but that's your personal choice. And then I'm just sticking my center in there. If you made the trumpet shape, you could stick that in the center. Or if you choose not to do that, you can just use the dot stickers, or if you have other stickers that are dots, or, oh my gosh, I just thought of this. What if you had rhinestones and you put rhinestones, like sticky rhinestones in the center? Anything like that will work, just to kind of create that center interest. So just stick a bunch of those down. This is the center of our flower. Just going to kind of fill it up with a little bit of color. And then if you just made leaves, you could also add some dots to that if you'd like, to give it a spotty effect. And then when you go to put that on your headband, if you just made leaves, look at how pretty that is. You could even curl it over the headband and have a really big leaf headband, or you could have it sticking out over the side. But for the rest of our display, we're going to go ahead and attach them. So I'm just going to sit my flower down toward the bottom of the leaf. So I'm going to kind of put the center of my flower on the bottom of my leaf, again with just some double-sided tape or glue stick or glue dots, whatever you have that's going to be your adhesive. Go ahead and stick it together. And then to put it on our headband, all we need to do, maybe your adult helper can help you have a little extra set of hands, but we're just going to, I off-centered mine on the headband, so let me show you that. So mine is not directly at the top, so that it doesn't sit directly on top of my head. This is the exact top of my headband, but I sort of attached it here more toward the side so that the big leaf would trail down kind of next to my face and the flower would be to one side of my head, but you can attach it wherever you would like. And then to do that, I just used masking tape, or you could also use clear tape, like packing tape, or if you have gift wrap tape, anything like that will work. And you just hold your headband kind of where you want it, and don't press too hard on your flower. Maybe this is where an extra set of hands is nice to have, so that you can tape it down. Or if you had a hot glue gun handy, maybe your adult helper could help you hot glue it to a headband if you wanted it to be more permanent. But if you're just going to do it for a day, for one party, then the tape will hold it pretty well for a while. And then if you love it, glue it down. I'm just going to go ahead and secure it in place with tape. A few rows of tape so that it's nice and stuck in place. And then maybe I'm going to bend my leaf down a little bit and attach that also, so that I can get that nice kind of cascading effect around my face. It would be really pretty to frame your face. Oh my gosh, look at how pretty that is. Ooh, I love it. I'm going to switch. Oh, so fun. Oh, can you see that? All right. So now the last thing that we're going to work on is our tiki mask. So these would be really fun if you were going to do a little luau party, or just have a fun, day. Maybe you're just going to grill out and you just want to make some cute decorations. My daughter loves to make everything we do a party. So these are really fun. We just need a used toilet paper roll or a used paper towel roll. And to make our face, I'm just going to gently press it a little bit flat, not smush it. Don't smush, just gently press so that it doesn't wobble so much back and forth, so that when you're working with your cylinder, it's a little bit easier to draw on it, because we're going to add this really cool big tiki face. So tiki statues were made by the Hawaiian people to represent their gods and goddesses, and usually represented things like power and health and all of those kinds of good things and good intentions, and the gods that they had, the gods and goddesses on their island. And that's what they were made. So they had big, powerful faces or big, cheerful faces, and were very colorful, because there are lots of color on the beautiful island of Hawaii, or islands. So to make our giant tiki face, I like to start with the mouth, since the mouth is usually really prominent on the tiki faces. So you can just draw a line across and then a big kind of half circle shape down from that, like a very large smile. And then, as you can see here, they often had like a prominent lip. So we can kind of outline in the inside of that shape that we just made to leave ourselves an area for the lip. And then in here, they usually had exposed teeth. So you can draw a line across and then lines up and down that would represent teeth. So now you have your large mouth. They usually had pretty prominent noses as well. So you can see how the nose comes down and connects onto the top of the mouth. So to make that shape, we're going to start here at the mouth and come out and make sort of like a little, like we were going to make a little scallop, and then come up, and you can go up most of the way to the top of your roll. And then you can try to do your best mirror image on the other side and bring that up too. And then, as you can see, I also brought mine over in a curve to kind of create like an eyebrow shape. So let's go ahead and do that. We can bring it over and then curl it down around maybe where you want your eye to be. And then I'm just going to bring that back up. Woo. And if you make a mistake, like I didn't really want to go in there, that's fine. Now it's just part of our design. Maybe that inspires you to do something else. I think it's important to remember that being an artist means sometimes taking things that you thought were mistakes and turning them into part of your design. No one ever has to know. I didn't want that to happen, except of course you guys, because I just told you. But okay, so now we're going to come around this side and try to do my very best mirror image on here. Am I doing a good job? Pretty good, pretty good. And I'll try to go back the other way. Oh, it's tough. But don't sweat it. Like I said, you just do your best. And if you make a mistake, maybe it inspires you to do something different. I'm going to bring it up. So I have really cool sort of eyebrow area. And then to create the eyes, they're also like a rather large feature. I'm going to make similar shape to what I did for the mouth. So sort of like a flattened oval, or maybe like a kind of think of it as like a stone shape almost. So not like a perfect circle, although you could do a perfect circle if you're able to freehand a perfect circle, then I would be very impressed. So there are my eyes. And then I'm going to go ahead and make a dark oval in the center of that for the pupil. And then I added a little bit of decoration at the top to kind of represent maybe like a ceremonial headdress or something. So you can add those details if you want to. So maybe you want to add just a few dots that would maybe be paint or jewels. And then you could add a few other lines that might represent some other decoration, leaf adornment, some of the other headdress that they used to wear. And you can look all of that up. I believe Missy has a link with some educational information if you'd like to learn a little bit more about tiki art and tiki statues. And then if you saved room, I didn't save room on this guy, but if you saved room, you could even draw a little body or chest or stomach area on your person too, on your tiki god, or you don't have to do that. And then we're going to layer in some color. So you can choose some of your favorite colors. Of course, on a darker roll, you'll need to use more saturated, darker colors. So I used like a fuchsia and an orange and a green and a navy blue. This toilet paper roll is a little bit lighter, so maybe I can do some lighter colors on this one. So I might choose to do like a bright green, like a seafoam green for the mouth. And so it's just kind of coloring that in. And they did use lots of fun, bright colors to decorate their gods. So I think that's really fun. Hawaii is a really bright and welcoming environment and culture. And it's also like the youngest state in the United States. So that's pretty interesting. And I'm going to add a little additional color by bringing that up here to the top and adding it in some of the other detail areas that I made. I think it's really interesting to learn all about the geography and some of the interesting different cultural heritage that there is in America. It's such a great melting pot of a place with all kinds of people that have come and been added and that were here before us. And it's so fun to learn history and how it can inform our culture too. So I encourage you to, you know, kind of use art to find out and teach yourself some really interesting things about the world and the place that you live. There's so much beauty out there. I'm going to just keep on coloring. And let's see, what other color should I choose? for the eyes. Maybe I'll do like a violet. That could be really fun. And just kind of like ringing around the eyes to add emphasis. Not really not going to color the whole thing in, but you could if you wanted to. Again, it's your project and it's totally up to you. So if you would like to have very colorful eyes, you can do that. I think I'm going to keep mine more simple. And then I like to just, when I'm coloring or doing other things, if I put it in one location, I like to add it to another location because it kind of draws your eye around your piece of artwork. And then I really only have 2 more places to add some color. So what should we go with? Maybe like a golden yellow down here. Color in that. What started as a mistake, but is turning into a very beautiful addition to my work. I love when that surprise happens. So just color that in, and one more. Let's do like a light blue or something. Lovely. Ooh, that really gives a nice pop to all the other colors that I chose. This would be another great one if you were going to have a party and you needed some different things to do with your guests. You could make a whole little tiki statuary section and put them all on display. And then when you're done, if you want to just round it out a little bit, just gently kind of push it back into shape. And there you have your cool toilet paper tiki guy or gal statue. There we have a bunch of little friends. So we did our pineapple luminary. Can tighten the lid on now, it's dry. If you wanted to, you could go back again and add a little bit more detail with a black marker to add that pineapple texture, or you could leave it blank. And we have our beautiful hibiscus headdress. So thank you so much to everyone for joining and creating with me today. And I look forward to seeing you next month with some more fun projects for Drop In Art.